ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the EOTA Stakeholder Conference 2025. I'm very happy to see you here live at the Beaux-Arts building, this beautiful building, and also a warm welcome to those attending online. So today's theme is From Vision to Action, the new ETA Route. My name is Annick van der Kruijsen, and I have the pleasure to be your Master of Ceremony during this conference today. So we're meeting at a key moment of the European construction sector. The revised construction product regulation is coming into full effect, and the focus is shifting from vision to implementation. At the heart of this transition lies the European Technical Assessment, or we call it also the ETA Route, a tool that can help make the CPR work in practice and support the construction market that is sustainable, digital, agile and competitive. We're honored to have a remarkable lineup of expert key speakers and, of course, experts from the European Commission, national authorities, industry and technical assessment bodies. And they are going to share their perspectives and, of course, their expertise with us later on. But ladies and gentlemen, this conference is not only about listening, it's also about exchange. So we're going to ask you to join in for the Q&As, also for you following remotely, because you can send your questions via Mentimeter, and the link is available in the description section of the YouTube live page. So your questions will be part of the Q&A through this afternoon. And now, to open this conference officially and set the stage for today's discussions, it's my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Thomas Broen, President of EOTA. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. It's really good to see so many people here. Despite of the challenges at Brussels Airport yesterday, it seems now that Copenhagen Airport and Brussels Airport are sharing a common, not so very nice experience, but so it's good to see you here, also the people online. Dear Director, Mrs. Bonvisuto, dear EC representatives, representatives of the construction sector, member state representatives, international guests, EOTA colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the 2025 EOTA Stakeholder Conference. When we last hosted this conference in 2022, we were already then discussing what the new construction products regulation would look like. At the time, I'm sure it was not particularly clear for everybody. At least it was certainly not very clear for me what was going to happen. Now the legal framework is here, and it is our task to set it into action. EOTA, the organization that I have the pleasure of representing today, has been the service provider to the industry under the current framework and is set to deliver the valuable services under the new framework as well. Especially, it should be highlighted that EOTA, together with the tremendous efforts of the representatives of the European Commission, has achieved to have a record high number of EADs cited in the last year, making it possible to CE mark the products with ETAs based on these EADs. It's been a fantastic cooperation between the EC, the European Commission, the TAPS and EOTA, and we look very much forward to having this outstanding cooperation work as well in the future. The services of EOTA members provide the industry today and in future with the European Technical Assessment, the ETA in short. The ETA is issued by competent technical assessment bodies across Europe, which come together under the umbrella of EOTA. And the ETA is the voluntary route for manufacturers to demonstrate performance of their innovative or non-standardized construction products, and also allowing for the CE marking of the products. The first ETA was issued in 1998, and since then, the ETA Route has been a valuable tool in creating the inner market for the construction products, and the ETA Route will play a similar important route in the future. The ETA CE marking route provides an EU-wide and global recognition, offering a tailored pathway for innovative construction products and those products not covered by harmonized standards, thereby creating market access for innovation. ETAs ensures transparency, reliability, and consistency across Europe and globally, while enabling SMEs and innovators to bring new solutions to the market. It is a credible and flexible approach to CE marking. It is also future-ready. Under the revised CPR, the ETA route is perfectly adapted to promote sustainability, digitalization, and circular economy, keeping EU manufacturers competitive and delivering safer, smarter, and greener products. Now we are entering into the new regulation. It's a fact of life. It is there. In EOTA, we understand the challenges and the uncertainties such a transition will uncover. And in EOTA, we see it as one of our finest goals to find pragmatic solutions. Some of them we will discuss later in the afternoon. Among others, EOTA is well aware of the need for creating competitive timelines. We believe in EOTA it should be possible to develop and cite an EAD within 12 months on average. And we have the ambition and the courage to ensure that the ETA route remains the first option when innovative and non-standardized construction products are traded in the European Union. And we are looking forward to having open discussions with all stakeholders on this in going forward. One of the new possibilities is that both individual manufacturers but also business associations can request ETAs for products not covered by harmonized standards, opening opportunities for innovative solutions not only on the EU market but also globally. Another novel option is that the European Commission can request the development of EADs as well. I encourage you to engage in the panel discussions that we are having through this day. I encourage you to ask questions, as many as you want and as many as time will permit. I wish you all an enlightening and valuable afternoon. I'm here all day if you wish to contact me and discuss things further. I wish you a very pleasant day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Broen, for your welcome speech and, of course, for setting the stage for today. So, before we now dive into the core of today's discussions, I would suggest to take a step back. Because in a world where change is all the time a constant now, in technology, in customers' expectations, and in the way we work, it's good to take a pause and reflect on how we, as professionals, can adapt and stay ahead. And to help us do that, we have a surprise keynote. Someone joining us remotely and from a very different field. She has held prominent leadership roles in the entertainment industry, a field where innovation and, of course, reinvention happen at a breathtaking pace. Please join me in welcome Mrs. Maria Valenzuela, who will share some thought-provoking insights on creativity, adaptability, and what other sectors can teach us about change. Please give her a warm welcome.
You know, it's been some time since we last heard the song Video Killed the Radio Star. I bet many of you remember that. That was in the 80s. I was in my teen years, and I really liked MTV. I thought television was fantastic. Madonna, Michael Jackson, everything was really great. All this horrible clothing and amazing. I was glued to television, and I thought it was an industry that really, really mattered. I gave no thought about the fact that maybe MTV was moving radio to a different stage. I was conscious of the technology disruption, but I thought that it was no way back. And I thought that was it. And I wasn't conscious of how many stages and how many more phases technology does and how many things will change from there on. You know, television was great, and it didn't take me far. Only on 2003, I joined Sony Pictures, television industry. As you know, Sony is one of the 6 studios from Hollywood. Hollywood sounding very big, you know, together with Warner, with Disney, with Universal, with Paramount, with Fox. I was one of them, and I was incredibly proud of that. I had a BlackBerry with a very small buttons that I typed very quickly on. And I negotiated with all the local TV stations in Spain and in Portugal, in the south of Europe, television rights. And it was amazing. I was very, very proud of it. I loved looking at my business card. And I gave it to my mother, which I know she kept on her wallet because she was very proud of having a daughter that has made it to the big world and has made it to Sony Pictures. That was a company that was going to last forever. It was part of the history of television and cinema, and I was part of that world, which was fantastic for her. It gave her reassurance that I was really in good hands and I was going to be there. So I know she was holding it on her wallet, and that was great. You know, I run the Spanish office for Sony Pictures with a very, very big revenue per year. We used to get the TV series and the movies as great as Spider-Man, Da Vinci Code, Men in Black, Bad Boys, or many, many others like Seinfeld, Blacklist, The Good Doctor, fantastic shows. And I would distribute it to local TV stations, and they will negotiate with me. And the same for France with another French office, the same for Germany, the same for England. There was a very many layers coming from the US studio to the local channels that bought the rights, that would air them on a certain evening of the day, that would have many of the family members of a household to screening. So one signal will go to their televisions and it will show the same content and people will look at it all together. There were big ratings. So one signal covered the whole of a territory and the big ratings were fantastic. The advertisement was great. Advertisers were happy. The model made sense. It was very beautiful. And it was the general entertainment industry. And we were all happy. It was all fine. And you would wonder then, what happened then? Well, what happened was something inevitable and beautiful, which is technology and innovation. And all of a sudden, it was possible to create a file that would compress information, audio, and video into a smaller amount of data. And they were able to send it from one to one. So people were able to get coded and then open on their own computers a screen and a video, and let's say it was a television or a movie cinema filed. And that made people who were very much into television, they were able to see things that they were very, very great, looking forward to see, that they were big fans of. And the way of consumption, the size of the television, the work to be done, it was less important than being able to watch it whenever they wanted to watch it, because that is what they have wanted to see, and being able to control the content. And it was just amazing. And it was growing and it was becoming more and more popular. And we, as a television executive and as a studio executive, we were looking at that. And I was listening to my company, my senior management, the head of legal, and they say, no, this is not going to stay, you guys. The ones that are running piracy are the guys that, or the people do not have money, they're pirates. We're going to fight against them. The law is going to go against them, and they won't be able to do it very soon. So we thought we just have to be more rigid. But we didn't understand 2 things that were happening that were profoundly important. One is the fact that the pirates were not pirates, were consumers. Very important. And the second thing is that there was something very profoundly happening, which was there was a change of habits. And you know, habits is a little bit like toothpaste. When it leaves the paste, the toothpaste, it doesn't come back. So it's very important to know when habits change, then you have to adapt. And technology was there to make it possible. And soon enough, there was a company coming out of nowhere. It was not a studio. It was a company coming from a corner that we didn't see coming. And they were offering a service, they were offering something that was addressing people's habits, and they were addressing people's interests, and they were addressing the consumers that were happy to have the content that they wanted to watch whenever they wanted to watch. And all of a sudden, the reality changed. And imagine how crazy it was that technology was able to send one file for every single person that wanted to watch a movie or a TV series, just one file. So it was not a signal over the radio, it was just one, and it was coming, and that was the beginning of the streamer economy. And this has been there in place since then, and it's been revolutionating the way that we consume content and we consume television. Now, many of the studios have changed, many has merged, has wanted to become bigger, to be able to be more flexible and more capable of the streaming economy, to become stronger and to also come up with an offering. And they're trying to adapt. But that has not been the end of the technology movements and the technology revolution. Technology is constantly finding ways, and innovation is just part of our reality. And you remember my BlackBerry that was great and I typed very quickly with the small buttons that had on the surface? Well, we no longer have a BlackBerry. We all have incredible phones with an amazing technology that are capable of showing us huge screens with a huge displays. And there are small computers that connect us with everywhere. And there has something that is really interesting, which is a camera. All of a sudden, content is created with that camera from everywhere in the world. And the technology allows that camera and the content we create to be shared with whoever we want to share. And it's a sharing technology and it's a sharing economy. And it's a creator economy. And everyone is creating content from all the corners of the world. And that content has something very, very important that we didn't see coming. It has reality. It has credibility. It's something that it really transforms. It has community and is giving the others the impression that are really watching something that is happening, that is true. And that is the new currency. The new currency is data, and the new currency is reality and credibility. And this is now again being part of the entertainment business. The entertainment business now changed into a general entertainment, to a very distinguished, very individual, addressing interest, addressing the time schedule, addressing the type of screens that people want to watch, constantly changing in models of subscription, of transactional, of free-to-air, of advertisement-based, of bundle with services that ship you things home. Many forms of consumptions, but we are transforming television, transforming the way we tell storytelling. Professionals storytelling like studios are embracing creators from the other side, creators that have been using the phone to become someone that people are trusted with, someone that people are, have an authority and have credibility, and are bringing the reality to people's screens. Advertisers are happy to see that they have a creative industry that is addressing the products that are selling, are going to be placed into the markets with a huge credibility of those who are really using it, not actors. And that is a very big portion of the advertisement now. So when you look at the television industry and the entertainment industry, we're very conscious that a small and middle-sized companies that are focused on innovation, that are focused on new models, that are looking at ways of reinventing how to adapt to consumer needs and consumer interests, are incredibly important, and they are the source for disruption, and they are the source for the new models and the new future that is coming only tomorrow or maybe earlier. And we're very conscious that technology is the part, and the innovation is what really is driving that going forward. And this is what we're here for. The ETA route is something very important, and I think that I don't have to convince you of how important it is. Innovation and changing the rules of the market is a constant. It's not just a small disruption. Now, my mother no longer has a business card of mine in her wallet. She knows that it's no longer that important and that necessary. She knows I'm part of a business that is in constant evolution, and I'm doing very, very well. And I am solid in a market where the adaptability and the flow of what is on the creator side and on the model of the economy is a constant, and it's incredibly important, and that is what makes it all being part of the future. So I wish you all a wonderful day, and thank you so much for letting me part of your conference.
I would like to thank Mrs. Valenzuela, of course, for her inspiring perspective, because yes, as she says, adaptability and the future is starting from now and tomorrow, and it looks bright, I think. Okay, so with that, we will return now to our own sector, one that itself is entering a period of transition. It's now my great pleasure to welcome Mrs. Barbara Bonfisuto, Director for Construction, Machinery and Market Surveillance at the European Commission, who will share the Commission's perspective on how the ETA Route can foster innovation and competitiveness in the construction editor. Please give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here. I have double hats for the time being. So I'm director in charge of construction, market surveillance, standardization, but I'm also acting head of unit for construction. So actually spend the double of time on construction topics and meeting construction stakeholders, and I'm actually enjoying that a lot. So I will be missing that when we have the new head of unit coming. But now, I would like to, before going into the specificities of the implementation of the CPR and the EOTA route, just let me remind you a bit of the overall context. You all know how important the construction ecosystem is for EU economy, and not only for economy. It's important as a key enabler for solving a crisis such as the current acute housing supply crisis. It's an ecosystem with a turnover of 4.5 trillion, with over 6 million companies, the majority of which are micro companies, with employing 27 million jobs and adding 12% to the EU gross value added. However, the current performance of this ecosystem doesn't match its potential. We have seen in the last years declining productivity rate. Indeed, it is of all the industrial sectors, it is the one which experienced the greater decline in productivity. Labor productivity per hour has been decreasing by 8% since 2019. And in parallel, construction costs have risen higher than inflation. The sector is also the least digitalized system. And today we talk about innovation, where there's really a big challenge for the system. Only 55% of firms are using advanced technologies. And the average in other sectors is almost 80%. So, what are we going to do about that? In the context of the affordable housing package that the Commission will adopt on the 16th of December, we will adopt a European strategy for housing construction. We are taking the competitiveness dimension there into consideration, because we cannot solve this huge crisis which affects millions of citizens if we do not have a competitive and healthy construction ecosystem. So we need to make sure that we unlock the full potential of the construction sector and we improve competitiveness, productivity. That is also a good opportunity to give visibility to all the efforts that we are together undertaking. We have been working in an impressive way with all of you, with the EOTA colleagues, my colleagues, in order to anticipate on the forthcoming implementation of the construction product regulation. We will have a lot of work also ahead of us, and the strategy is a very good opportunity to give visibility to all these collective efforts which we are undertaking together. And it is a good opportunity to zoom in on what is needed to make this sector innovative. Innovation is key for competitiveness. And we need to boost the market for innovative products, innovative materials, innovative construction techniques. And in the EU, we can be front runner and we can lead this technology race, but we need to have all the framework conditions right, which means supporting both supply and demand. And now, let me focus on the supply side, because this is where the framework, the regulatory framework matters most. The EOTA route, with the possibility of, for manufacturers to affix the CE marking on innovative products, is key to push innovation. And in this context, your expertise plays a crucial role. We know that the preparation, the assessment of European assessment documents is a very complex process, which requires a lot of technical expertise, also a thorough understanding of the legal framework. But we have witnessed, and I'm very pleased to act upon that, we have witnessed great work ongoing in the last years. We have made considerable successful efforts to improve the process of publication of European assessment documents in the official journal. And I really would like to thank all of you for the constructive attitude and for the good cooperation which we have had. Just one element I would like to stress, we agreed at a certain point in time, we were talking about a backlog on publication, and then we agreed on a work plan, on a roadmap. One key element of that was the commitment from EOTA to assess, to perform quality review of the documents which were submitted to the Commission. Scary, challenging task, but I think you took up and you raised up to the challenge, and this is a key element, and we really count on you to continue performing that, because this ensures that the timing for assessing from our side can be shortened. This also ensures that there is less forth and back, of comments and further iteration on the different documents. I will give you a few figures which are testimony of the good progress that we have made. In 2022, we only published 20 EADs. In 2023, 55. 2024, 71. This year, we will publish, we are going to publish more than 100 European assessment documents. I think this is quite impressive, and that means we are really working in the right direction. And as I was saying, also the number of the commenting rounds, the time for green lighting publication are both decreasing. Now, picture is not fully rosy, and we still have a lot to do. There is a lot of margin for improvement, but clearly we have set up the right working methods now. Also, the new frameworks, the new CPR has introduced a number of improvements to the current system. And I think it is important, the President already recalled some of them, that we fully exploit all the potentiality, all the potential of this new framework. We have clarified, for example, the boundary between a harmonized zone and the European assessment document. It should not be clear when a product is indeed within the harmonized zone and when it is outside. Also, now under the new framework, it will be possible for the European technical assessment request to be made by a group of manufacturers or manufacturers association. And we really invite you to explore this possibility. And also we can, as a Commission, we can request European assessment documents, and we are going to make use of this option, especially when we think that the ETA route can usefully complement the harmonized standards. And also, we think it's a very good novelty, the fact that the European technical assessment can only be issued after the corresponding European assessment document has been formally published. This will create incentives and will, for all stakeholders to finalize good quality European assessment document, and also will put the ETA route on equal footing with respect to the harmonized standardization route. So, as I said, we have really improved a lot. We are cooperating well. There are a lot of new possibilities to be exploited under the new framework. So let's make sure that we fully exploit them in continuing the good cooperation which we have. And I will be happy to take further questions. I will be participating in the panel now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bonfisuto. So yeah, like you said, innovation is key for competitiveness. Next, we will hear a member state's perspective. What framework does the new CPR provide for driving sustainability and innovation? So please welcome Mr. Dirk Breedveld from the Dutch Ministry for Housing and Spatial Planning. Please give him a warm welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's an honor for me here on this conference of EOTA. I'm telling more about the member states' perspective, and I will stand here. First of all, I only have 10 minutes, so I have to speed up. But here's some figures about the construction sector industry in Europe. The previous speaker also mentioned some figures. I hope they are in line with mine. So I will say, read this one when we send the presentation afterwards, but it's a huge amount we have when it comes to turnover in Europe about construction products. It's 9% of Europeans' product, general product amount. And yeah, we have. I can't see the figures, so that's it's 37% of global emission. That's why the new CPR is also in revise. So there were problems with the internal market that has to be solved, and also challenges when it comes to declining greenhouse gases. So in March 2022, there was a proposal from the European Commission for the new CPR, and one of the main objectives remains, that's the internal market, no trade barriers, so that's one of the main principles in the European Union. But the other main challenge was making construction products more sustainable, all about the Green Deal. And yeah, the CE marking and the declaration of performance remains, but there also has to be added an environmental product declaration. And in the CPR 2011, there were no products requirements, but in the new ones, it's possible for the Commission to set product requirements by delegated act. And basic work requirement, sustainability, was already in place, but it was not implemented, and it will be implemented now in the new harmonized standards. We have not only a new CPR, but we also have a CPR acquis process, and the goal of the CPR acquis process is developing new standards for all 36 product families. And we do that with all member states to make a standardization request, coordination with the European Commission, and the standardization request will be sent to CEN, and then CEN has 2 years to develop new standards. And yeah, here's already, you see the reasons why last about 10 years no, or almost none of new harmonized standards were cited in the European Journal, because there were shortcomings in in the standards. And I think this is also the reason why EOTA became so successful last years. And we see the citations under the European Journal were declining, where only 1 or 2 new standards were cited in the European Journal. And again, I think EOTA has done a tremendous job to jump in that empty spot and fill it in with EADs. These are the 36 product families which are in development to make new standardization requests. The green ones are already sent to CEN standardization requests. The yellow ones are under development and will be sent this year or next year to CEN for development. Then one very new term, an interesting term, is the harmonized zone in the new CPR. The harmonized zone is where a product family fits in when there's a new harmonized standard under the new CPR. Then the product family will be a part of the harmonized zone. So those 36 product groups will be partially every year, within 15 years, all the product families will fit in the harmonized zone. And so the harmonized zone will grow next 10 or 15 years. And then the bridge to EOTA. I told you about the harmonized zone, 36 product families, new harmonized standards. But there is also a need, and also a need for innovative products which are not covered in the harmonized zone, and that's where EOTA comes in. So EOTA is not officially in the harmonized zone in the CPR due to, I think, legal reasons. EADs are not under the harmonized zone, but they are still the one and only road to come to voluntary CE marking. And you can see that here. Voluntary CE marking, CPR 2024, Article 31 to 41. When products not fully covered by harmonized standards, construction products outside the harmonized zone, nevertheless intended to be incorporated in construction works, having a contribution to or impact on one of the 8 basic work requirements of building products. As you all know, I think it requires the development of another assessment protocol. And yeah, we are speaking about innovative products, so there is no assessment protocol. So that has to be developed by EOTA and the members of EOTA. So that's always challenging and very interesting, this project, these trajects. In line with the objectives of CE marking and product families. As I told, development of other assessment protocols is foreseen in the CPR for construction products outside the harmonized zone. Application by manufacturers is voluntary, so it's not an obligation, but voluntary. Shall be aligned with existing rules and provisions, and they are created to serve products outside the harmonized zone. Construction products can be assessed against the EADs, European assessment documents, instead of against a harmonized standard, resulting in a report which is called the European Technical Assessment. The assessment itself shall be carried out by the technical assessment bodies designated for that domain. So, a resume, construction products for which CE marking is not mandatory, the CE marking can and may be applied by voluntary CE marking. And EOTA is the organization, the one and only organization, to coordinate the development of EADs. And EADs may call upon other standards like EN standards or ISO standards. Harmonized standards may call also upon other standards like European standards and ISO standards, but not call upon EADs. A DOPC is either based on or explicitly refers to an harmonized standards or a European assessment document. Characteristics and performance expressed in the DOPC shall be unambiguous, reliable and useful within the construction sector. They shall satisfy information needs from their customers. They may be used for demonstrating compliance to the national building codes, and they may be investigated, challenged by market surveillance authorities. Thanks for your attention. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Breedveld. We will see each other later on, of course, during the panel discussion. And thank you very much for the insightful keynote. Okay, so now we are going to move into a new interactive segment of our program, and it's called the Expert Corner here live on stage. So you will have again the opportunity to hear directly from our key experts, but also to ask questions. So for you here present, but also for you who are following us remotely. So first of all, I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Oscar Nieto from the European Commission. Please take a seat.
Take a seat.
Mr. Heikki van Anen, also from the European Commission. And Mr. Matthias Springborn from EOTA. So I will begin with a couple of questions, of course, for our experts to set the scene, but please, we will open the floor for your questions, so don't be shy, just ask your questions. For those joining online, I would like to remember you that you can send your questions via Mentimeter, so you'll find the link in the description of your YouTube live page. Okay, so I would like to ask a question to Mr. Nieto. And it's a very short one. So when will the CPR be fully applicable?
Well, this is the most difficult question we can have because there is no date. It depends on the product. So for every product, the date in which the new CPR, the CPR 2024, will apply is different. So for cement, will be probably in 2027 when we will have the new standards. And in practice for products under EADs, will apply from the moment that the EAD is cited in the official journal. And for every EAD, the time is different. So in practice, I cannot say a clear reply, but at least we know when it will happen for each product.
No clear dates. Okay. Mr. Heikki van Anen, so I've heard that a vast majority of EADs and ETAs continue to be valid under the new CPR. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, this is the case. So those EADs that have been published before the 8th of January will continue to be valid documents under the new CPR or umbrella of the new CPR as well for 5 years. If they are not kind of overtaken by a harmonized standard or for some other reasons, they are repealed from the legal toolbox, if you like. And after that, the European technical assessments will still be valid for another 5 years, so that manufacturers can continue to keep their products CE marked.
Okay, I would like to stay with you, Mr. van Anen, because when we stay with the EADs, those who have not been cited as of 8 January 2026, what will happen to them?
Well, those ETAs that are not linked to cited or published EADs, they will legally become ETA requests.
Okay.
Which means that there needs to be eligibility check by EOTA and then validated by us to see that the project is still eligible for development under the new CPR. And if this is the case, the project jumps from the eligibility check basically to the phase where it was. And then the development of the new aspects of the new CPR will be developed on the document.
Okay. Mr. Springborn, could you give manufacturers in this situation some practical advice? So what are the steps to take?
I think the first issue is that the TUBs will approach the manufacturers in order to identify whether the manufacturer under the new framework will still be interested in having an ETA be issued and therefore the EAD be further developed in order to fit to the new framework. And then, of course, as a next step, as Heikki just said, we will have the, so to say, eligibility check. That means we have to take into account the new preconditions under which an EAD might be elaborated and an ETA be issued.
Does the EAD request, as he told us?
Yeah, once a manufacturer has expressed his interest in having this procedure further be developed and transferred into the new framework, then of course we have to, so to say, restart under the new framework and to have to check whether the project fits into the new framework, as the preconditions under which an EAD might be elaborated have changed a little bit. And this has to be taken into account.
Okay.
May I
Yes, of
complement
course.
on that?
Yes.
I would like to just state that the technical content in these in the documents that are in this situation, of course, it's not going to disappear anywhere. So it will stay there. It will be valid content for the EADs and for the ETA documents that are already there. So the work that has been done until now, it's definitely not lost.
Okay, that's good to hear, I think. I'm looking at you, present here. Do you have already a question? And then there was a silence.
Shy people.
The mic is coming up.
Thank you. My name is Sara Gobbi. I represent ASTM International here in Brussels. It's a global standard development organization. My question for the European Commission is about if and how will the new CPR impact the possibility to leverage existing standards or test methods that are developed by other SDOs, including ASTM. Will the CPR allow for a more pragmatic approach when innovative construction products are covered by test methods, specifications that are developed and published outside the Sensenelec framework? Thank you.
Well, I think the situation is different if we speak about the standards and if we speak about EOTA. I think for EOTA, Heikki will explain this. For standards, we have to be very careful because in the standards, there is a mandatory application of these standards and these assessment methods. So it should be clear what is the legal basis also as regards the assessment methods and the methodologies. So for this reason, in all the standards, we always have now dated references to make sure that we refer to specific standards. And also, we try to make sure that the specific requirements as regards regulation are also transferred to the values or the reference chain to standards. What I mean is that in practice, we have usually some reference to ISO standards, but making reference to other standards in which this content may not be fully accessible or may have problems as regards being part of the law is not so easy. But I think there is now an initiative, as my director said before, there is a discussion about the revision of the standardization regulation. And I would say that if you have specific ideas, we are open to see your views and see if we can find other ways to also develop standards.
Yeah. Maybe just to complement Oskar's point of view, the situation as we now talk today about construction industry and construction products, this, let's say the communication between different standards, whether European, international, ASTM, or God knows what, this is not only a construction product related issue. It's applied to all standards under the standardization regulation. Then coming to EADs, what we always invite EOTA to explore first is that when, for example, in an EAD, EOTA is developing an assessment method, the first question always should be, is this assessment method somewhere already in European standards or in international standards? And if this is the case, let's not invent the wheel again. Just make a reference to that standard and to that clause, because behind that clause is only the assessment method, and this is what is interesting. Of course, sometimes you have to adapt, because standards even are not complete somehow, and then, of course, you need to cover those things that are not covered in the standards that you are referring to.
Is that a good answer to your question? Are there other persons here in the room who would like to ask a question? Yes, sir. Mr. Breedveld.
From our government, maybe a concern or question. When EAD is in consultation, it will be sent to other EOTA members, to the TAPs. And what I hear from the TAPs in the Netherlands, they say we don't have the means or the human resources to assess those EADs. So our concern is whether these EADs are properly assessed by the member states or by the TAPs. How do you look at this issue?
Is it open? Yes. Generally, the EADs are subject to inquiry, to commenting within EOTA by TAPs, and usually a lot of TAPs involve themselves in commenting on a first draft or a second draft EAD. And I think this is part of the task which a TAP has been assigned to or assigned with. So this task should be taken seriously, and my experience is that in generally it works. So if you would have some doubts in that respect, I would be interested to hear more about the specific case. But my experience working since decades for EOTA is another one.
Yes.
There is also the regulation offers the possibility to have a formal objection of the EAD after citation. So I would say that in addition to the positive approach of trying to collaborate before the EAD is drafted, there is also a possibility that if there is a problem found by member states which could have an implementation issue, they can present a formal objection, and we will really have a special action, depending on the formal objection, that may result in a revision of the EAD or other measures to make sure that the rules at member state level are not distorted by the EAD. And I think this was already in the old CPR and was rarely used, because I think in general the outcome of EADs is very good, but it exists, and if this kind of problem is found, we can act also at a later stage.
There was no such case in the past, at least if I'm not mistaken, and personally, I do not have any doubts, or I do not see the rules of member states being affected by the provisions of EADs, as the EADs are performance-based documents. So no requirements, no design elements, something like that. It's a purely technical assessment of the product performance. Therefore, I can hardly imagine that it would be a conflict with member states' regulations?
I have a question that came in from someone following us remotely. So I let you gentlemen choose who wants to answer this question. Is the manufacturer forced to CE mark the product after ETA is issued, or is it voluntary? And where is this information given in clear format such that manufacturers can check that?
This is a discussion we had in the negotiations. In the old CPR, in CPR 2011, there was a clear sentence saying when the manufacturer requests an ETA, the manufacturer shall CE mark the product, which was an obligation. In the new CPR, this text is no longer there, so if they read the articles, the chapter specifically for EADs, they will see that there is a may, so the manufacturer may CE mark the product according to this ETA. So it's a voluntary approach. So they can request the ETA, and they may not CE mark the product at the end if they don't want to do it. It will be very strange because you pay for an ETA and you are doing a big investment and a lot of effort, but if finally, for whatever reason, you don't want to CE mark, it's not mandatory.
Okay. Something to add to that?
Maybe just to add, let's say the spirit of the regulation is that the marketing of the product is based on the declaration of performance and conformity and related CE marking. So, as Oscar said, it's not an obligation, but I would find it strange as well to stop with ETA.
Yeah.
Okay, very clear. Thank you very much. I'm looking if I have any other questions from people remotely following us. Oh. Sir, please, well, you're welcome to ask your question.
Thank you, Jakob Rørbæk from DI, Danish Construction. Could you expand on the last point, maybe from each of your perspectives? What are the advantages and disadvantages of now separating clearly the standards within the harmonized zone and the EADs, ETAs outside the harmonized zone? What do you see immediately of advantages and disadvantages with this new structure?
Yeah, maybe you can.
Okay, I can start with simply my personal opinion. I have to confess that I had personally some doubts with regard to this distinction, because I had a lot of discussions with manufacturers who perceived then EADs as documents of a minor importance, which obviously is not the case, because you will have the same benefits. If you would like to CE mark your product, you will have the possibility. Nevertheless, these doubts arised amongst manufacturers, and I was wondering about the advantages, for what reasons this has been done. And I remember discussions which I had with Commission services, where we have been told that it was expected that it would be more easy to draft EADs because they would not have the same strict formal framework as it would be for the time given. So this was the answer which we received, and I hope that this will evolve in the future as a true advantage.
Yeah.
You want to go over?
I think there was also an issue with obligation of translation.
Yeah, well,
22 languages.
One of these formal aspects which are linked with EADs.
But this is true, but I think the element that was the core of the negotiations was, in the new harmonized zone, is very clear what are the limitations of member states. So member states cannot regulate outside the harmonized zone product performances. And if we would keep EOTA and EADs under the same framework, it would mean that the EADs should be subject to the same validation and process. And you have heard about the CPR acquis, the complexity. And if we want to have an efficient, fast route for innovative products, It will not fit with a system in which you need to have a complex validation of regulators to make sure that all the regulatory requirements are satisfied. So that's the reason why the final agreement was we keep the harmonized zone only for standards. We move clearly the EADs outside the harmonized zone, which was not very clear in the old CPR. And then we give them some freedom and we help them to really move faster. But of course, the consequence is that they are no longer harmonized. There are documents that no longer belong to the harmonized zone. So I think this was the background of the discussion. And also I agree that we think really this will be beneficial from both sides. So the system is now clearer, and we think that the EAD development will be faster and also will not have additional obstacles.
Yes, of course, you can. If you still have a question, of course.
Maybe one aspect still. I think for me personally, the logic is the way these documents are developed. So for the harmonized standards, you start with the CPR key process, which starts from the collection of member state regulatory needs. And it's a top-down process. Whereas the EAD development starts with a single product. And the technical needs to assess that product and its performance. And it's kind of a bottom-up process. And it would, for me, feel a little bit illogical that this type of bottom-up approaches would then have the same legal, let's say, weight and leverage than the documents that start from the regulatory needs.
So you can confirm, and this is maybe lack of experience, but when an EAD has been developed and approved by EOTA, it is still under, let's say, member state control in the sense that it has to be passed through the Committee of Construction as an approved document, or will this in fact exclude the member states from having an opinion on if the EAD is delivering to their technical needs?
So there is no validation by member states. So the validation is done by the Commission. We will check consistency with the legal framework. And we have this formal objection procedure afterwards in case a member state identifies that something is problematic. So, but there is no official validation of member states to the citation of the EADs.
Okay, I see someone raising his hand. Can we please pass the mask to the sir back there? Oh, excuse me, ma'am. I couldn't see you from so far.
It's a lady, but no issue. I have a doubt that pops up in my mind after the question on the voluntary CE marking and the EAD and the ETA. The DOPC, after an ETA, it is an obligation.
No, as I said, the ETA, having an ETA does not trigger the obligation to have a DOPC or a CE mark.
Both. Yeah.
But it will be logic that you do it and also adopt all the CE marking, the DOPC, and the digital product passport. But there is no obligation. If you do it, of course, it's the logic approach, but it's not mandatory.
Other questions popping up? Now that our key experts are here waiting for you to answer your questions. Otherwise, I have a couple more for you. Yeah? Nobody for the moment? Okay, but maybe give it some thought and don't be shy to ask. Let's talk a bit about sustainability, which is one of the most core aspects that come with the new CPR. And how can manufacturers prepare for the new sustainability requirements? And that's a question more for you, Mr. Springborn.
Thank you. Yes, I think in the first instance, it would, of course, be of a benefit for the manufacturer if he would already have an EPD for his product, or if this is not the case, if there are similar products on the market with an EPD. This would mean that we would also have the so-called CPCRs, the complementary product category rules, available, which would have to be used for the EAD to be drafted. So if something like that is already available, this would of course be a crucial aspect from which the manufacturer could benefit. On the other hand, of course, we have also already been told that everything is about data, so the manufacturer can start to collect data needed for the further environmental assessment. So some kind of preparations are possible.
Okay, thank you. Carmen, I'm looking at you. Is there still time for one question? Okay. So, I know because this is an important question. And also, I'm going to ask this to you, Mr. Van Anen, or if somebody else also wants to take up the question. In the future, ETAs can only be issued once an EAD is cited. So what actions can be taken to accelerate the citation process? So that's number one. And then, are any measures being taken to improve the speed of EAD citation?
This is an important one. And I think this requires a bit of change in the way we work. So all the key stakeholders that are within the process of developing the EAD, I mean, starting from the manufacturers, then to the technical assessment body, to EOTA and to the Commission, we have to be involved from the beginning. Because many times when we assess EAD, there are issues that you see immediately that, okay, we should have discussed this issue 3 years ago. And then they are, of course, more difficult to solve when we are at the very end of the process. And this collaboration and openness within the process itself, I think this is the key. And from the Commission perspective, this means also that we need to change the way we work in the publication of the documents. We have normally, under the Old Testament, waited until we have 10 or 15 EADs, and then we go to publication. This doesn't work anymore. If the manufacturer is waiting for the publication in order to get the ETA and to launch the DOPC and CE mark his product, when we get the EAD into phase of citation, we might wait a couple of weeks if we know that something else is coming also, but we cannot wait months. So it has to be faster also from our perspective.
Okay, something to add to that?
Yes, thank you. From the perspective of EOTA, everything starts with the work program as it is already today. But in the future, the Commission services as today will receive the work program, but will then enter into the detail and will check whether the EAD is eligible to be drafted based on the conditions which we will find in the CPR 2024. And then already now, since years, we have installed in EOTA a project team which is in charge with checking EADs in order to, as far as possible, anticipate possible comments from the side of the Commission services. And this project team will be involved from the very first beginning in order to avoid a development of the procedure in a wrong direction. So this, I think, will be a very helpful tool for the future.
Okay, thank you very much. We came to an end of this expert corner, so please thank these experts. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for a well-deserved coffee break. Look, everybody is smiling. A well-deserved coffee break. So this was part one, very enriching, like we say, and we will start at 3 o'clock sharp. So it's now, if I can look at this clock, 1:45. So we see each other back at 3 o'clock. Welcome back everyone. And also, of course, welcome back those who are following us remotely. So, part 2 of this beautiful stakeholder conference, from vision to action, where we will have a further look how the ETA route shapes real projects and supports companies across Europe and beyond. Our first speaker of part 2 is Mrs. Maria Bento, Chair of the EOTA Technical Board, and she will present how EOTA addresses the new CPR in European technical assessments. Please give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about the ETA route. As has been said, the pathway to CE marking for innovative construction products and those without harmonized standards. Let me start with a clear message. The ETA route works. It has worked for many years. It currently works, and it will continue to work under the new construction product regulation framework. The fact that the ETA route remains part of the CPR, the new CPR, is a clear sign of its value and reliability. Thanks to this route, thousands of construction products have reached both the European and international markets. These products are products without a standard, but which still needed a way to demonstrate their performance and gain trust. The ETA route made that possible. Let me give you some examples from my own experience. In the field of products and kits for facades, we have seen a clear evolution over the past years, from mechanically fixed cladding kits to those that are now fixed by means of adhesive systems. Cladding elements made of very different materials, including composite materials and very diverse shapes. These and other products for facades are becoming more and more complex and more industrialized. And EOTA has been there, adapting and developing new assessment to follow this evolution. Or in the field of external thermal insulation systems, where the outer layer is no longer just renderings, extending to other innovative products that now include tiles, claddings, and other components. Again, we have adapted. And let's not forget the field of anchors, where EOTA has been a strong partner for the industry. We have supported innovation step by step, and we will continue to do it. These examples show how EOTA has consistently adapted to products innovation. And this commitment doesn't stop here. While we recognize the past success of the ETA route, we are already looking ahead, because EOTA is ready for the future. Okay. We are facing this future with confidence. With the new CPR, we are all entering in a new phase. This brings change, and yes, some uncertainty. However, at EOTA, we are used to working with uncertainties. We deal with innovative products that are new, are different, and sometimes very complex. And we are completely comfortable in this field. We are confident in our ability to support manufacturers during the transition to the new construction product regulation. We know how to find solutions. We know how to adapt to the future challenges. Confidence comes from preparation, and EOTA has a solid foundation for the transition. Thanks to the strong collaborative work between EOTA and the European Commission, we already have 488 European assessment documents cited in the official journal, including 35 this year alone, and we expect 66 more before the new construction product regulation enters application. This means over 500 EADs cited. The technical assessment bodies, or TABs as they are known, will continue to issue ETAs using these EADs. For a period of up to 5 years, we will work under both regulations, the current one and then the new one, ensuring continuity and stability. At the same time, we will start developing new EADs under the new framework. This will allow us to issue the next generation of ETAs, documents that will remain valid at least for 10 years. And of course, EOTA and TABs will monitor the situation closely, and it will inform manufacturers of any change that may affect them. So, how are we preparing for the future? At EOTA, we are already working on how to integrate the new requirements into the next generations of EADs and ETAs. This includes environmental performance, digital data structures, and any other product information that is required. The new CPR introduces environmental essential characteristics, which will need to be included in the EADs and assessed for the ETAs. This means that the manufacturers will have to provide more detailed technical information, and we, as TABs, will ensure that this information is provided and assessed in a consistent and reliable way. In parallel, we are also preparing for the digital treatment of the product data. This includes structuring the information in a way that can be used in digital tools, such as this digital product passport and BIM systems. This will make the ETAs even more useful as technical reference in the digital construction ecosystem. So let me say this very clear. We are ready. We are ready to adapt. We are ready to support manufacturers. And we are ready to provide solutions that meet the new expectations of the market and the new requirements of the regulation. But how will the new ETA route work? Well, there is continuity in how the new ETA route will work. The process remains familiar and flexible. It is familiar that when our manufacturers want to place a product on the market and there is no harmonized technical specification that covers the product, they can request an ETA as the alternative route for the CE marking. It is familiar that if an EAD already exists, that covers, of course, the product, the ETA can be used based on such EAD. And it is also familiar and very flexible that if no EAD exists, then we can start by developing a new one. And here there is something different in the new regulation. This development can be initiated not only by a single manufacturer as before, by a group of manufacturers or associations, or by the European Commission. Once the EAD is cited in the official journal, then any manufacturer can use it to request an ETA. EOTA will coordinate the entire process, working closely with the relevant tabs, ensuring quality and consistency. During the development of the EAD, we will ensure alignment with the harmonized zone. We are already coordinated with the ACIS group. So the resulting ETA can be used with confidence across the internal market. In short, the ETA route under the new construction product regulation will continue to offer a clear, transparent, flexible, and reliable path to CE marking for innovative construction products. Okay. Finally, let me stress that the ETA route is more than a process. It's an essential service for the industry. The ETA is more than a document. It's a trusted source of technical information. It helps manufacturers, not only in Europe, but in international markets. It gives confidence to the designers, to constructors, and to any other stakeholders. And EOTA is more than an organization. It's a community of experts working together to make innovation possible. Okay, now one back, okay. Then, so to all manufacturers here today and online, of course, whether you are already familiar with the ETA route or just discovering it, the message is simple. EOTA is ready for the new construction product regulation. The new ETA route will be ready, and we are here to help you succeed. Let me finish saying, let's work together to build a future that is more innovative, more sustainable, and more open to new ideas. Now, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bento, for this beautiful message. We hear that EOTA is prepared, and as we all know, a good preparation is the half of your success. Okay, so next we will hear from Mr. Ralf Pasker, Managing Director of the European Association for External Thermal Insulation Composite Systems, and he will share his insights into the practical enablers to implement the new CPR and ETA routes. So please, a warm welcome to Mr. Ralf Pasker.
So thank you very much for the warm welcome applause. As Christoph Sykes would say, another guy in a dark suit, but hopefully you do not see too much gray hair. Thanks for being invited, and indeed, I think my presentation resonates quite well to what we just heard from Maria Bento. And yeah, as we are with ethics between the EOTA route and the SEN route, I think we see some overlaps, and some of my comments and recommendations take this in consideration, because I think this is a very specific situation which we face today. Here we are. So I've prepared a short presentation. I will not go through all the slides in detail, because anyhow you will receive the slides hopefully from EOTA afterwards. So Maria already mentioned as one of the example the ethics kit, so external thermal insulation composite systems, which was basically, as we will see, the first kit, the first construction product called kit, which has been CE marked already 25 years ago. And it is assessed as one product. So the European assessment document explains how the product in its entirety is tested and is assessed. And it's put together from several components, as you can see here on the screen, on site for the incorporation in the construction works to do the thermal insulation of the building envelope. I will not go into the details because that's not so relevant at this moment. Well, just to show you the relevance, it's not only a niche market, because all in all, if we look at the EEA countries, so European Union plus associated countries, we talk about a market volume of around 200 to 220 million square meters per year. And this is why ethics need to play an essential role in the decarbonization strategy of the European Union. And this is why we as association, together with all our members, are deeply involved in the regulatory framework and contribute both to the EOTA works and the work in CEN. These are our members, so you see that really big companies and many national ethics associations are under the umbrella of the EAE, and this plays an important role because we bring together the whole value chain and the views from the different national markets. This is a benefit you referred to, collaboration, which is key, bringing the views and the perspectives from different countries together. Because this is something I can tell you, of course, the market does not work equally in all national markets, but nevertheless, harmonization is important and is a success factor, as we will see on this slide. As I said, the first, in those days, ETA 004 was published already in the year 2000, 25 years from now. In those days, it was about European technical approval, so the perspective was different. We will come to that in the next slide. But nevertheless, the ethics kit manufacturers were really interested in this procedure to get to the CE marking, to have one product once assessed, and then being able to place the product on the different national markets. Because until that stage, and we still have it, there were national approvals, there were no approvals at all, there were certificates, whatever, different assessment methods, and imagine the costs and the effort this takes for manufacturers to place products on the market and to market their products. And I'm not talking about the installers. We had the speech from FIEC. If they are working in different countries, they need to make themselves familiar with the different regulation, and this is then sometimes confusing if in the end you are talking about the same product from the same manufacturer. Later, we had, under the first CPR, then the transition into the European assessment document, and first we had ethics, the most popular ethics already still today, ethics with renderings attached or fixed on substrates made from masonry or concrete walls. And then it further developed because there was progress in the development of products, a market demand for different design options, as you mentioned. So meanwhile, we have several EADs for several ethics product families, with more than 500 ETAs issued for various manufacturers from all across Europe. So this illustrates quite well that the ethics industry is really dedicated to CE marking and to benefit from the single market. Although, I must admit, we are not yet there. There are still national specificities, but this is exactly, I don't see Oscar anymore, but this is exactly the point that needs to be solved through the new CPR, that we really have CE marked products which can be marketed on all national countries, on all national markets, without any further assessment, approval, etc. Well, now we have the new CPR and the new ETA Route. And there are some aspects, and I just picked out a few of them, where I see benefits, or our members see benefits from the new CPR. It's the explicit option, and this was mentioned at the very beginning from the European Commission, that associations are now explicitly welcomed to get involved in the whole process, which was not the case under the old CPR. Thankfully, EOTA accepted associations already in the working group during the transition and during the revision of the current EAD. But this was not legally foreseen. But I think from my experience, although we had some discussions in all those meetings, but I think that's pretty natural, it was worth having this exercise, because then we bring the expertise from TAPs, from notified bodies, from the industry together to create something even better than before, and to consider also the market needs, because naturally the manufacturers are closer to the market, to the customers, than anybody else. Another aspect is that the new CPR explicitly foresees the alignment as far as possible with existing SEN test methods. This is something that we have, let's say, widely seen under the last revision of our EED, which has not been cited yet, but already green-lighted. So there, that was really a strong request from our side. Please align the assessment methods described or mentioned in the EED with already published test standards. This has been widely done, not fully, but this was the matter of the discussions. And this is very important, because then we have really a level playing field for all manufacturers. And as I said, we are in the transition from the EOTA world. At least parts of the ethics systems will then move to the SEN world, European Product Standard, because then manufacturers can take existing test reports and use them in the future under the standard. But this only works if the test methods behind are the same. Otherwise, manufacturers would need to do retesting, which costs, again, efforts, time, and in the end, well, if we are talking about affordable housing, it all needs to be paid from somebody. What we also appreciate, this is new, I think, in EADs in general, is that the concept of EXAB rules, or extended application rules, has been adopted by EOTA, which is quite good, because this helps manufacturers in case they want to modify their products slightly, let's say. Then we have already the rules included which describe under which circumstances the test or the assessment results from the EAD or the ETA can be used for other configurations. In the past, they always needed to immediately apply for a revised ETA, and this was then a timely procedure. So that's also quite positive. Yeah, environmental sustainability, we heard about that already, and here again we kindly asked EOTA to align with SEN the best possible, so that here we have a common approach how to assess the sustainability criteria. Barriers that we observed. Well, it's basically, this also applies then in the future for the SEN route, but what we all need to keep in mind is if we change assessment methods, and once the new EAD or also a harmonized product standard with amended assessment methods is cited, that means that all new products placed on the market need to comply with the new version of the EAD or the standard. There are some details, of course, and if the assessment method significantly deviates, then retesting is necessary. And this is why we say this is something which needs to be clearly justified, because, again, it's about costs and efforts for the manufacturers. Then another aspect, clarification of the kit characteristics. Eric, you touched this slightly. And we heard this in the panel discussion before. The list of essential characteristics is constantly increasing. And this is something we need to be very careful, and we need to be honest with ourselves, industry as well as regulators and TAPs. Because I heard already complaints from the end users of the products who say, well, you make a scientific exercise out of ethics application. So we should really try to identify which are really the essential kit characteristics in our case. And I think, and this is what we discussed already a couple of times, this can be done without losing safety and quality by just adding some clauses in EADs and also in product standards where we provide the rule. What do we do with all the test results to come to a kit performance? This is one example. So today in the ETA, it needs to be recorded the bond strengths between all the different layers. Yes, this needs to be tested, of course, and it needs to be recorded. But in the end, what matters to the designer is the wind load resistance of the entire kit. And it cannot be better than the weakest point in this chain. So what is missing, and even in the draft product standard, I must admit, is to provide a rule, look at all the single properties, and the lowest one is the property of the kit. So this is probably the new perspective we need to take, also in terms of less bureaucracy, and to make standards and ETAs and DOPCs more user-friendly. Yeah, and what I already mentioned, collaboration is key. We heard that already a couple of times this afternoon, because every stakeholder in this whole construction value chain has specific experience, specific knowledge, be it in terms of regulation, be it in terms of testing, be it in terms of how to use the product in the end on site and the needs of the designers. And if we bring all this together and discuss openly, then we are able to deliver even better solutions as we already have. Assessments, this is what I mentioned, and I think that's my last point, basically. Well, we had the situation that in the EAD revision, but we have the same discussions in CEN. Sometimes they said, yes, but there was a failure, and this is why we need to change the assessment method. Yes, maybe. But what I miss is an open discussion about the relevance of the failure. If we have installed, as I said, 200 million square meters a year, which means, meanwhile, billions of square meters across Europe, and we observe 1, 2, 3 failures, to me, this does not justify automatically, at least, to amend test methods, EADs, harmonized product standards. There we need to be fair and assess the risk, how often this happens, and having this perspective, then decide whether an amendment of a test method makes sense or not. This does not mean that things that were done and assessed in the past were wrong. Of course, at a certain moment, we have new knowledge, and then we do that. But what, on the other hand, also must not happen is that just because someone says, yes, there was a product failure, we automatically start changing technical specifications. And probably this could be facilitated and written down somewhere, probably in future guidance documents for EOTA as well as for CEN, just to keep this in mind. Yes, and then I'm exactly in the time limit, right? Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm available for questions now and later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pasker. And yeah, collaboration is key. That's right. And yeah, was this a little bit of pressure that they put already this slide on? So I will ask you to come back on stage later on. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go now over to the ETA opportunities for manufacturers. I will turn on to hands-on experience now of a manufacturer who knows the ETA process really from the inside. So please welcome with me Mr. Pere Catala from Hempel, and he will share us how using the ETA route has supported their work and what it can mean for the future. Please give him a warm applause.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you to EOTA for inviting me and allowing me the opportunity to share with you the experience of a manufacturer about what is the importance of ETAs and CE marking, what is the value that they are to our products in global markets, not only in Europe, and what are the opportunities that arise in relation to the sustainability aspects that are in the new or future CPR. So, Hempel is a Danish manufacturer of coatings. We operate in 4 main segments. We make coatings for the decorative purposes. We make coatings for marine, for vessels. We make coatings for the energy segment, we call it. It's for the chemical industry, with chemical resistance, with thermal insulation, for wind blades, wind towers. And we make coatings as well for the construction sector, what we call civil construction, so for buildings, civil convention centers like this one, stadiums, bridges, all that, okay? So we have global presence. We have a global presence across the world. We have factories, R&D centers, sales, stock offices around the globe. And Hempel is a company that is highly committed with sustainability. Sustainability objectives go hand in hand with our objective for business growth. We are a chemical industry, and as a chemical industry, we have the commitment and the aim to reduce our environmental footprint and impact to the society. For that, we can do that through different ways, but for instance, it's about reducing the hazardous substances, using substances with less VOCs, less solvents, less emissions. And an example of this commitment is that Hempel has signed for the science-based targets, which is essentially that we have committed to reduce the emissions of our own activity, but also reduce the scope 3 emissions, which is on the whole value chain of our products. Amongst the whole wide assortment of products that we have, Hempel develops, produces, and develops intumescent coatings. Intumescent coatings are reactive coatings used to protect steel in the event of a fire. When these coatings are exposed to the high temperatures in a fire, like around 1,000 degrees, they react, they grow a char, which will thermally insulate the steel and will keep the steel below the 500 degrees, which is the critical temperature at which it could collapse. This will give time ranging from 30 minutes, 60 minutes, up to 4 hours for a safe evacuation of the buildings and for a safe intervention of the fire brigades. Intumescent coatings are used in construction for the protection, as I said, of structural steel in our buildings and installations, and there is no harmonized standard for testing this type of coatings. Instead, we are using the EOTA route, and when we want to put products in the market with ETA and with CE marking, what we use is we follow an EAD, we issue an ETA, CE marking, and a declaration of performance. This is the EAD that applies for this type of coatings, for the passive fire protection of steel elements. Basically, it describes several essential characteristics for the product. I want just to highlight a few. It is the reaction to fire classification, the resistance to fire. Resistance to fire is the thickness that we need to apply of the intumescent to protect for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 4 hours, or whatever fire duration. Also, the resistance to fire describes which other coatings can be used together with intumescent, which primers, which top coats can be used. So essentially, we are describing and testing what is the full coating system that we can use. And the last one I want to mention is durability. Durability is a very important aspect of an intumescent coating. Durability is defined as the ability of the coating, the intumescent, to withstand the environmental conditions. So from the very mild conditions that we have in an interior of a building like this one, to the very harsh conditions that we could find if the intumescent is exposed to the exterior to rain, sunlight, thermal temperature changes. This could destroy the ability to expand. Hempel has placed in the market several products since 2012, all of them with CE marking and with an ETA. All of them have been issued by ITEC as our tab. We have 6 factories where we produce these intumescent coatings, and out of these 3 factories, 2 are in Europe and 1 is outside Europe. This is because the ETA and the CE mark is a very valued mark and valued by our customer because it provides trust, it provides confidence, it provides transparency and technical confidence. That is why it is also valued outside Europe, not only in Europe. We have, for instance, countries, I will mention later on which countries are valuing this, not outside Europe. As I said, intumescent coatings are for the fire protection, and eventually they can help to save lives. For this reason, once these coatings are installed in our buildings, they will have only one chance to perform. It can be the week after they have been applied, it can be 20 years after they have been applied. So quality and performance reliability, quality of consistency of performance are very important keywords that we need to take into account. Durability, have we used, have we tested, and are we claiming the right durability for the products? Are we doing the annual audits of our products so that we can verify that on a continuous basis the product that we are selling, they have not changed and they have the same performance? These are all aspects that are contained in the ETA and that makes the ETA so valuable for our customers, because it gives essentially this trust and this peace of mind for architects, engineers, and the designers that need to define which coatings they use for the buildings. As I said, this is very valued not only in Europe, outside Europe. We have examples of countries like Singapore, Qatar, Emirates, Philippines. These countries, when we have issued our ETAs and our products with CE marking, it has helped to win projects in those countries because of the reasons that I explained before. The new CPR, we all have heard, we all know that it will incorporate sustainability aspects, like the ones that you can see here, the EPDs, carbon footprint, recyclability, hazardous substances, many of these. EPDs are not mandatory yet, we all know that, but they are demanded by our customers, they are demanded by the market, and already today we are facing them and we need to be issuing EPDs. There's different ways how we can drive sustainability by selecting coatings. We can, for instance, select the coatings with a better corrosion protection. If we select coatings with better anti-corrosion protection, they will last longer, the lifetime of the asset will be longer, and we will have less waste. We can select coatings as well with more durable coatings, coatings that will last longer before they need to be maintenance or refurbished. That, again, this is leading to longer lifetime and to less waste. We can select coatings with less emissions, so with a positive carbon footprint. We can select coatings that can do the same performance or better with reduced thickness, with less thickness, less material, again, impacting less pain, less waste, etc. We can use coatings with less hazardous materials, and this is important because this is not only coming from legislation, we are seeing more and more that this is coming from our customers. Our customers have requirements, they have sustainability agendas like we have, and they are simply saying that they don't want to use certain products containing certain raw materials. And finally, we can also select coatings that are more efficient, that in the end will mean energy savings, or that, for instance, fast drying coatings or coatings that you can use less number of coats will be less demanding on resource or energy. So, products with, I would like just to finalize with repeating and summarizing that products with ETAs and CE marking are very valued by our customers because they demonstrate compliance and transparency, because the data is all there and everyone can consult. It's a trustworthy mark to the same level of other third-party marks that are used in the industry of fire protection. It's a source of reliable information. This is very important. And all this is adding value to our products in all the markets. As I said, sustainability is already here. This is not nothing new. It's already here. And it's increasing requirements. So now, with the new CPR and the new requirements with sustainability incorporated in the CPR, this can only make the ETAs and the CE marking even more and stronger and more valuable than today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Catala, for these first-hand insights. Okay, now we are delighted to welcome a colleague who came from very far. He came all the way from the United States. So please welcome Mr. Chris Fennell, Vice President of Global Business Development at the International Code Council and Evaluation Service. And he will share a brief greeting reflecting our close ties with global markets and partners beyond Europe. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, and I am actually very, very pleased and honored to be here amongst this group, representing the ICC, the International Code Council. And we've had observer status since 2021, but my role, which I'll describe, I want to make that observer status more active, and that's really fundamentally the reason that I'm here. And, but before getting into that, I need to piggyback on Ralph's comment about the old guy, dark suit and gray hair. And that is that it seems like only yesterday I was the young engineer working and living in Germany, working at Daimler-Benz, riding my motorcycle all over the continent. And over the last 30 years since then, the good news is I've been working as a building scientist and engineer in housing, in research, testing, applied engineering, to focus on innovation and helping get innovations into the marketplace. And the point of that is, as has been the common theme here today, affordability, sustainability, innovation, these are really central to what we do at ICC and more specifically at ICCES. So when I say ICC, many of you probably recognize that's the International Code Council. We're the model code organization in the United States that generates and creates most of the codes across all the phases of construction. Those codes happen to be used in other countries as well, in whole or in part. I think we're in about 40 different countries around the world. I am part of, and the vice president of, a new position within the conformity assessment group. And so in my role, within ICCES, it's to meaningfully identify ways to, the most frequently used word today is collaborate. But when we think about that word, collaborate, co-labor, work together, it doesn't mean just talk, it means actually working together. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is amongst, as a conformity assessment body, connect with and work with EOTA members. So we have many, many clients in Europe that are bringing products to the US and the other direction. And critical, and if we're sincere as building safety professionals and engineers and scientists, if we're sincere about that, we really must find meaningful ways to work together. We have a duty, my background happens to be in housing. Is there such a need for the expertise that this group has that we need to be efficient and effective in doing it? And so I'll be here the balance of the day, this evening, tomorrow, and I really look forward to getting to meet more of you and finding opportunities to work together. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fennell. And again, it's about collaboration. So you know where to find him. He's still here tonight and tomorrow, you said. Huh? All right. Okay, so now let's turn to a key question for the future of the ETA route. How can we effectively implement sustainability and digitalization in practice? To help to answer this, I'm pleased to welcome two experts this time who represent EOTA in key European standardization and policy discussions around these core challenges. So please welcome with me Mr. Marcus Tresser from Luxip for Sustainability and Mrs. Andrea Gil from Iticonch for Digitalization. Please give them a warm welcome.
I will leave you alone.
Thank you, Marcus.
Good start.
So, good afternoon. I think during this conference we all have heard the new developments under the new CPR. And what, for me, the feeling that I have is that the construction sector is entering a new era. And let me tell you something. In this new era, digitalization has a key role. And for now, digitalization is not the future, it's the present. We all need to build on. In the next few minutes, I will show you how EOTA has been working to make sure the ETA route is ready for this new digital era. So, the new CPR brings us a lot of new concepts regarding digitalization. And what is the aim of this? What is the aim of introducing digitalization in the construction sector? The aim is to improve efficiency in the information transfer, to increase transparency, to reduce burden, and to make sure information is available throughout the complete life cycle of a product. And what is the impact for manufacturers regarding digitalization? According to the CPR, a manufacturer shall supply a declaration of performance and conformity in an electronic format unless it is introduced in a digital product passport. A digital product passport is a structured record of all information related to that product or kit. And actually, in the case of the construction sector, we will have there different documents, well, different information, not documents, data, like the declaration of performance and conformity, general product information, or technical documentation, and so on. And to be able to use this digital product passport, the Commission will set a DPP system. A delegated act will be adopted by the Commission, and 6 months after the entry into force of such delegated act, the DPP system shall be fully operational. And 18 months after the delegated act entry into force, the DPP system becomes mandatory. The information well, just a remark regarding what Oscar Nieto said earlier. This is only true when we already have EADs cited under the framework of the new CPR, of course. The information to be added into the digital product passport needs to be based on open standards developed with an interoperable format and shall be, as appropriate, machine readable. And how can manufacturers know how to deal with declarations of performance and conformity that are machine readable? How to do them? For that, there will be guidance. And according to the CPR, EADs shall set up the guidelines to ensure interoperability between to ensure interoperability of the human and machine readable formats for the DOPC. And to make sure these guidelines will be available from our side, we are monitoring the work of CEN-TC 442. This group of CEN works with BIM, and they are also developing work under this new framework of the new CPR, and we are following their work and bringing knowledge into EOTA. And to make sure that these guidelines will be available on time and that EADs will not be blocked on the process of citation of EADs. Actually, what we provide to manufacturers are ETAs with the assessment of a product or a kit. And for that reason, EOTA is monitoring the complete process from EAD to DPP. And the aim of this is to eventually, in the future, have ETAs in a machine-readable format, well, at least to test, structure information to be able to provide ETAs in that format, if possible. But a setback in this new CPR that I need also to address, that was already addressed here, is the fact that in this new framework, ETAs will only be able to be issued after the EADs are cited in the official journal. And what can we do about it? Well, I can tell you that EOTA is working hard to make sure that this will not compromise the issuance of ETAs and that will not make manufacturers lose their trust in our work. So we are testing a fast-track route. Sorry, it's cut. Sorry, it's a fast-track route where the idea here is to have well, a request from a manufacturer. The tab that receives the request will write the work program with all the essential characteristics that need to be included in the EAD. And a PT16 expert will write the EAD with the help of a PT12 expert to deal with the issues of sustainability. And all these adjustments are being done to make sure that we reduce the time frame in a substantial way of the registration of an ETA to the citation of an EAD and to be able to provide ETAs on time. Since 2023, EOTA has a digitalization working group. This group works in several areas in EOTA, and we have the EOTA portal, where we have our main database and our workspace. In this portal, we also have the ETA self-registration. That is a new feature where tabs can register their own ETAs. And this is a good step forward in our work because we are not dependent anymore on the EOTA Secretariat. So it's a good feature. We are also studying a roadmap with the IT structure to be able to provide future services to manufacturers. And we are also discussing the interconnectivity between EOTA and tabs and studying the possibility of having an API to make that interconnectivity between tabs and EOTA. As already mentioned, we are monitoring the EAD to DPP. And of course, we are focusing a lot on the new CPR, not only analyzing the impact of the new CPR, the digitalization in the new CPR to EOTA, but also to all stakeholders of EOTA. And because the work of the new CPR requirements is very demanding, we created a task force with members of the digital working group, and this task force is doing the monitoring of CEN/TC 442, and also drafting the guidelines that we need to put into EADs to ensure interoperability of the machine, the human and machine readable formats for the DOPC. Sorry, Marcus. In conclusion, digitalization isn't just well, digitalization is a path we need to go and walk together. And what EOTA is doing is not only preparing the ETA route for the new framework, but shaping a new construction sector that is smarter, stronger, and more connected than ever. Thank you. I will now give the floor to Marcus.
Thank you, Andrea, for highlighting that digitalization is implemented in the new construction product regulation and the new ETA route. I will switch now from digitalization to sustainability in the construction works, or more precisely to environmental sustainability of construction products. And I will start with the bigger picture. We have net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 in Europe. That is the target. And to assess that, we have to know the the greenhouse gas emission over the life cycle of a construction product. And so it's not a surprise that the greenhouse gas emission of construction product is a leading environmental sustainability factor or indicator in the new CPR. And also, this is not only an indicator, this is data we will need for the next legislative milestone, which is the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, which is to be implemented in every European member state by May 2026. And one aim of the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive is to implement that the greenhouse gas emission of a whole life cycle for new buildings will be documented, and the decarbonization of the building sector will be monitored, so that we can be sure to achieve the net zero in 2050 in Europe. So, switching now from the bigger picture to the details of the new CPR, or more precisely to the Annex 2 of the new CPR, which is providing 90 environmental essential characteristics, which are already predetermined, and this is quite unusual, or in comparison with the old CPR, because these essential characteristics are already linked to product characteristics and not only to basic work requirements. And also interesting about this environmental essential characteristics is that they are not based or results of tests, evaluation and assessment. They are a result of life cycle assessments. The Annex 2 brings also obligation to EOTA or to you manufacturers, because all the 19 environmental essential characteristics have to be implemented by new EADs in 3 packages. So the last package has to start at the 9th of January 2032, which 6 essential characteristics. But the first package with 4 characteristics, which are all linked to greenhouse gas emissions, will start at the 8th of January 2026, which is in 2 months and 3 days' time. So it could be seen as a challenge, but we have known this date before, so we are prepared. And also the life cycle assessment and the methods related and processes related to life cycle assessment are established since several years by EN 5804 and the Environmental Product Declaration System. And we have the job, or taking on the job in EOTA, to implement this method and processes into the EOTA route. We have done this by developing a guideline and also developing 3 pilot EADs. And also, it's very important that we are in an open and trustful exchange with the European Commission, but also with CEN/TC 350. And this is really a good working or cooperation. So, as Maria mentioned before, we are ready. And due to the long existing period of EN 5804 and the EPDs, manufacturers could rely on the experience of EPD consultants and program operators to get support to fulfill this obligation to install this 19 environmental probably 90 later on, but now we start with 19 environmental essential characteristics, and to fulfill this obligation to do this in the near time. The new CPR is not only coming with obligation, it is coming also with opportunities. And these are linked to Annex 1, which is very similar to Annex 1 of the old CPR. We have the slightly changed that we don't have basic work requirements. We have now basic requirements for construction works. And the number has increased from 7 to 8. So these are defined requirements for construction works. But for construction products, the essential characteristics have still to be defined to fulfill these requirements for construction works. And this can be done by the new EADs or new harmonized standards. And in this process, to link these essential characteristics of products to the basic requirements for construction works, we have an open window for innovations and probably new business models. And to discuss this in detail, I jump here to a basic requirement for construction work, number 8F, reuse. So this is short for maximization of reuse and recyclability of construction works, their parts and their materials after demolition and deconstruction. So this is one requirement which offers the chance to enforce reuse of construction products, like reuse of windows, but also structural parts. And with the digitalization product passport, digital product passport, we will have an additional support to do so, because a problem with reusing construction products in the past has been that we haven't had the information about the used products. And if you have the digital product passport, we can rely on this information. And probably this is a way, or could be an incentive for manufacturers to establish new business models, new circular economy business models. But to do so, it's very important that these products can be removed from the buildings without damaging the product itself. So we have here under basic requirement for construction works 8G, ease of deconstruction. So I think this is an easy one for manufacturers of fastenings and screws. They probably will highlight the quality of their product regarding to this point. But other construction manufacturers will have other challenges, probably regarding the product ethics. They will have another look on their product and probably adapt their product, innovate their product that it's easier to deconstruct in the future. And if they are starting this work, they're probably having a second thought and think if they can start also a circular economy business model with their ethics product in the future. To summarize the requirements for environmental sustainability in the CPR and in the EOTA route, this requirement brings obligations, as you have seen in Annex 2, the 19 different essential environmental characteristics for which processes and resources are already available, so we can handle these obligations. And these requirements bring also opportunities. As we have seen at the examples I tried to discuss in the basic work requirements 8, so we have chances for innovation and new business models as a result of the Annex 1. Overall, we have obligations and opportunities. Obligations we can handle, opportunities we probably can realize by appropriate implementation of digitalization and support from qualified institutions. And this is the end, so I would like to invite manufacturers especially to use the last time of, or the last hour of this conference today and the time after that to contact EOTA and probably specific technical assessment body to guide them on the journey to a more environmental sustainable construction product in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tresser. Thank you also, Mrs. Gilles, for the handy roadmap for sustainability and digitalization. So as you can see, Mr. Tresser is already in his chair because we're going now back for a second high-level panel discussion. And this time it's going to be about smarter and greener construction, so the power to the shift to greener and smarter construction of through ETAs. The conversation will focus on how manufacturers, associations and technical experts are already working to make the ETA route a lever for greener and digital innovation. For that, I would like now to ask Mr. Ralf Pasker from EAE to join me on stage. Mr. Pere Catala, please join me also on stage from Hempel. Mr. Tresser, you're already there. And of course, Mrs. Andrea Gilles from ITCONCH. Can you also please join us? And then our moderator is going to be Matthias Springborn from DIBT. Please give them all a warm welcome.
I think we have heard a lot about advantages, disadvantages, the benefits and the challenges of the new CPR, of the CPR 2024. I have in mind, I got in mind when I heard something about the challenges. You perhaps know from the news, only bad news are good news. But I don't like this approach. But nevertheless, I think for today and for this time in our conference, it makes sense to address especially the challenges we are facing with. The advantages will develop in the next future. So let's talk about the challenges we are facing. I would like to focus on the content of the EADs. And here, according to my best knowledge, we face three new elements. One element is sustainability, the next element is digitalization, and the third one is about giving guidance to manufacturers to draft safety information. With regard to the third one, my personal perception is this is something which should be comparably easily to be handled in comparison to the other two aspects. So let's focus on sustainability and digitalization. And my question to you would be, do you feel from your personal perspective as an association, as a manufacturer, as a technical assessment body, do you feel to be ready? What are your expectations? What are the challenges you are faced with? What are your expectations, perhaps also to other stakeholders not present anymore, for instance, the Commission services? So, who would like to answer first?
I can start. So, from our side at ETA Conch, we are actually eager to have the new CPR ongoing. Because we have a lot of manufacturers that have innovative products that need the development of EADs. And actually, we are just waiting to be able to help them to put their products on the market with CE marking according to ETAs. Of course, if you ask me if we are ready, we are ready, as Maria Bento said. All TOPs should be ready. We are working on it. Of course, we like some information. As I mentioned before, there will be a delegated act that will be defining the DPP system, and of course, we need that information to be able to work further. But I think that the main point here is that we are ready to embrace the new challenge of the new CPR. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. From the manufacturer side or association side, what are your expectations?
I can go. From a manufacturer, and I talk from Hempel, I don't talk for other manufacturers, we are also ready, but logically we come at the end of the process. So first it needs to be an EAD first defined, described, and then we will come, then we can start the process. But we are ready, and we are also eager to get the process rolling.
Thank you. Ralf,
yeah.
I think from the point of view of an association, it might also be interesting.
Yes, I would say, well, our manufacturers are as prepared as they can be at this stage, because there are some pieces of the puzzle still missing, which will then provide guidance. So as for the digitalization, I think our manufacturers are quite happy to have this option now under the new CPR, because if you imagine an external thermal composite system comprising of different components with different variations in each of the component. This means each of the combinations leads to another product performance of this specific kit. And this was a challenge in the past. If we today look into ETAs for ethics, we see a lot of tables for the single characteristics. And then there are some other tables which say, okay, you need to combine the information from this table with that one to come to the kit performance. Formally, the CPR requests from the manufacturers to supply a declaration of performance or performance in today, which is product type specific, which literally means for each single combination, one DOP. And I strongly believe if we have this digital passport available in the future, this will make life easier for manufacturers of, in our case, kits, because they can implement the different combinations in the database and generate the different properties according to the combination. So in the digital world, this should be easier than in a two-dimensional world. So from that perspective, we are looking forward to the proposal from the Commission, how this will be facilitated. And as for the sustainability aspects, well, a lot of manufacturers or national ethics associations already have a lot of environmental performance declarations, today on a voluntary basis. In the future, it will become part of the DOPC. Again, there are some things under this discussion in the horizontal subgroup, and we are awaiting the outcomes. And here again, what I mentioned in my speech before, I recommend to a certain extent to be more pragmatic in some cases, just focusing what is the objective that we follow. It is in the end to make the whole construction sector, or in our case, all ethics, more environmental friendly, less impact on the industry. And this is why I do believe that somehow calculation models should be foreseen, how manufacturers can calculate over a broader range of products the performances, because in the end, what matters to the environment is, well, to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in the entirety, not necessarily on the single piece of product which has been placed on the market. Of course, third-party control, that's for sure. Yeah, and these are, let's say, the key challenges. But on the other hand, yeah, we are following the process, we are contributing to the discussions, and looking forward to the solutions.
Thank you. I would like to underline parts of what you have said. Just last week, I took part in a symposium organized by the German Federal Ministry, a symposium related to the construction product regulation, and sustainability, of course, was also a key issue. And I have learned, being myself not an expert in sustainability, that there is ongoing discussion about the question whether the parameter should be based on a worst-case scenario or on an average scenario. Worst case is obviously for the time being the preferred scenario, preferred by the Commission services. But the problems which we have been explained about are that once, for instance, as one input data, your energy mix in one of your factories will change, then you would need to adapt your declaration of performance. So I think this might be something which we should have a look into the details in the future. So on the one hand, I really trust in my colleagues who work on digitalization as well as on sustainability, that we are really on a good track and ready for the future. But I also feel that to some extent we need some details furthermore to be discussed with the Commission services in order to come to a final solution. Well, it seems to me personally that this would be one challenge for the next weeks and months.
I can fully agree. So my feeling is that regulation in this direction becomes more and more granular. More and more granular means, yes, to a certain extent more precise, but on the other hand, it creates huge efforts. And we need to find a fair balance between the overarching objective, which I said, decarbonization, more environmental friendly products, and yes, taking into account, in the end, competitiveness. Somebody needs to pay for all the efforts. And the more granular the regulation becomes, the more assessments and tests are needed. Well, this reflects in the end in the product price. And there, I think we need to find a fair balance. Yeah. Not to be very clear, not to greenwash anything. This is not the intention, not the intention of the industry. But let's say to make it feasible and practically implementable.
Yeah. Another issue which I have learned from those colleagues who are more experienced with sustainability aspects is the fact that obviously we have different databases where manufacturers can take their data from, their input data from. And what I have learned is that experts say that those databases provide for different quality of data, which means that I'm personally a little bit afraid that at the end there might be results which would not be really comparable. So do you also see this, this danger? And if this is the case, how can we overcome this? Markus?
Yeah, regarding the database, so we have different databases. For example, EcoBaudat in Germany, but there are several other countries which has databases themselves, and the content of the database is also related to energy mix in the country. So I don't know if the information is on a different level, but I think the information, the background information is probably different, and this could be an issue, could be a problem, but also we have manufacturers from different countries, and if you are not in Germany, but in a different country, you probably better use the database from which is specific for your region. But it's a topic which has to be solved, but we have data, and we can work with the data, and they should be reliable, but it should be transparent where the data is coming from, and I think this is secured in the current process. So,
Pierre, you have experience with that.
Yeah, I think the risk of greenwashing is high. Not when it comes to chemicals to hazardous, because this is quite clearly defined, and we don't see greenwashing in that respect, but we see it in the carbon footprint data. I think there we need standardization of test methods and alignment, and because otherwise what we are using today is data that is not standardized, and then it could be doubtful. So there needs to be it's been said that we need to generate data, yes, but first we need to take one step back and first standardize test methods.
I think that's really the first step. Huh? And there I have good hopes in the CPCR, so that we have European-wide the same assessment methods. Huh? Today, the EPD used in Germany is not applicable in France and not applicable in Belgium, because already the criteria are not the same. And this makes things really complicated, and from that end, I think the new construction product regulation made a significant step forward, making it a part of the DOPC, so this requires a harmonized approach European-wide. And the second point is then, the verification of the data as such.
Could it be one single database to be organized, to be set up by a central organization like the Commission Services or whomever, or what could be the idea? Okay, to be discussed in the future.
Okay. Now, of course, if there is one central database, then it is at least ensured that the structure of the data and the verification of the data is equal, right? In any case, what we need is a harmonized data format, so that all the information can be taken from this database and then used in BIM and whatever, so that we use the same data structure. So this is also currently a barrier to trade.
Okay, thank you. I think let's address the other key aspect, digitalization. I remember very well presentation several years ago from Antonio Caballero Gonzalez. Some of you will know him. And the vision was that a construction product arrives at the construction site with some kind of digital information, and the foreman and on the construction site has the opposite information in a digital way. That means the requirements for this specific product to be used in a specific place in the building. Then he uses his smartphone, checks the QR code and gets a green light, and everything is fine. So this would be the future. I think this is an ambitious goal, and it will take some time until we are on that way. But we are talking today about the first part. That means the information to be offered by the manufacturer in a digital way. As long as the other aspect is not possible, what are your expectations, especially as manufacturers? What are the benefits for you to have the possibility, but also to are required to provide the information in this digitalized way? It will also, of course, cost resources and money.
But digitalization can only bring benefits. I mean, it is, we have described this about checking on site, immediate check of the technical documentation, the suitability for using a certain product. So it is something that, it's very welcome that we can take it on board as soon as possible. And actually, manufacturers, we are in some way or other already doing things on our own for digitalizing our processes, no, and our documentation.
Well, let's face it, even under the current CPR, the manufacturers are obliged to record their declaration of performance and to make it available even years after placing the product on the market. So they need to do it somehow. So very often today they generate PDF files and make them available on their websites. Then of course they need to store it somewhere in a second database in case of any accidents issues. So yes, with the step from this world to the completely digitalized world, let's face it, it will take costs and efforts for all the manufacturers, like in every transition process, because the system does not exist today. So this needs to be implemented. But I think in the long run it makes sense, because very often the underlying information is already available in a digital format from ERP systems or whatever, is then transferred into a PDF, then uploaded to the internet. So if we can do this in a more, or in a truly digitalized waste, I would expect that in the long run it will be less efforts for the manufacturers. And if we are looking at the whole building design process, building passports, etc., then we anyhow need the digital data available.
Okay, thank you. I think we have addressed more or less the most important questions with regard to the content of the future content of EADs. But taking the opportunity to have you as a representative of a manufacturers association with us, I would like to ask you, but also Perret as a manufacturer, about the possibility which is offered by the new CPR that an association or a group of manufacturers can apply or can initiate the elaboration of an EAD. What are your expectations? Are you eager to, within the next days, address EOTA with some kind of application for EAE? Or are there product areas for which you think this would be more likely? So EAE is one ethics is one product area. Your product area, fire coatings, where we also have several EADs and a lot of manufacturers. There might also be the possibility that you feel it would make sense as a group of manufacturers to approach EOTA.
Could be if it's an innovative product. If it's an innovative product, this will come first from one manufacturer, not from a group. Okay. If it's a truly innovative product, it will come only from one. So I would expect that then will be initiated only by one manufacturer. Later on, logically, if that technology is accessible to the rest, then maybe then it is a joint effort. But we don't see that in our area. In the intumescent coatings, we are all following the existing EAD that I presented, and products that are launched. We launch new products to the market, but all are possible to be following that EAD. We have not been yet to that scenario of launching innovative products in this area. We may, but we've not been yet.
So this means that, according to your expectation, this is a case which will not happen very often, that a manufacturers association will. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, as for ethics, it's a bit difficult to answer at an EOTA conference, honestly. Not that we have something against EOTA. It's just what I said at the beginning of my speech, that we are in the middle between the EOTA route and the SEN route, and already in the CPR key process. So this is why, of course, we observe the things that happen. Basically, with the just finished revision of the EAD, it was more or less on our initiative to do that, because we requested already during the transition from ETA 004 to the EAD to make reference where possible to existing test standards. This was not possible at that stage because the European Commission said no technical changes, so we need to make a one-to-one transition, and only after, during a revision, we can do that. And this is basically what we have done together. Then, second point, many of the ETAs issued in the past were still based on ETA 004. So many of our manufacturers have just applied for new ETAs under the EAD to make sure that they have a valid ETA available after the 8th of January 2026. So from that end, there is no urgent need to do the next step. And then we will see the timeline finally of the standardization request. Will all the product families that I have shown been included in this standardization request? Or will it be done subsequently so that there will be an overlap? Some of the products already fall under the scope of a harmonized product standard. Then there might, and the other ones subsequently will be switched to the SAN world. That would at a certain moment justify to update an EAD of the remaining product groups. But this is a decision that only can be taken seriously after we have certainty regarding the standardization requests. And to be very honest, at the moment, I think our industry, our manufacturers are prepared in a way. They have valid ETAs. Many of them have just renewed them. They have voluntary EADs, so for them there is no urgent need to have the environmental sustainability aspects included. What might be interesting would be the aspect of digitalization. But this is, as I said, one thing we can finally decide once we have agreed on the standardization request.
Last question for today is about procedures. We have already addressed today that in the future, under the CPR 2024, ETAs will only have the possibility to be issued once the EAD has been cited in the official journal. That means the timeline until citation is a key aspect. We also have been informed today, Andrea has talked about the 12-month project which EOTA has started as an exercise. Perhaps it can support us to speed up procedures. We have already talked about involvement of our in quotation marks, quality team. That means this team which checks EADs in order to anticipate possible comments of the Commission services from a very early stage. On the other hand, of course, to draft an EAD, the set of assessment methods for a complex product or kit might be challenging, might need some time. So what are the needs, what are the expectations of the industry in that respect? The needs are clear. The EAD should be ready tomorrow. But, but what are your expectations in that respect?
The question is to the industry, right?
I think it's more or less to the industry. With regard from EOTA's point of view, we have, again, as it is in the CPR 2011, 9 months for the development of an EAD. Yeah. Usually, EOTA is faster, but what are your ideas in that respect? Of course, we also have to take into account before you can get an ETA be issued. The timeline for testing depends on the capacities of notified bodies and depends on the type of testing, artificial weathering, natural weathering, something like that. But
for this, you now have ETA routes.
Yeah, for sure. So any thoughts or any wishes to EOTA with regard to further procedures to speed up?
Well, if you're asking for the industry perspective and from the experience that we made with ethics, as I said, collaboration is key. I think we had a good exchange with the EOTA working group, and it's natural that we were not always of the same opinion. That's why we have these working groups and commenting templates. A recommendation from that experience would be to be realistic regarding the timeline. You said that ethics kits are complex products, so of course if we are talking about a revision, it depends on the extent of changes which are foreseen. Well, how much time would it take to discuss it? And what in any case needs to be considered if you involve industry associations, what is really crucial and does not really work, at least it was challenging, very challenging for us, if we received a revised draft and then have 1 week to comment, this is difficult to organize in the European Association. Please keep in mind that all our experts are working in companies, so the work that they dedicate to the association, that they dedicate to commenting on EOTA draft documents or standards, is something which comes on top of their workload. We need to find a date to have an online meeting, to have our discussions, so this needs to be sufficiently considered in the timeline so that we have enough time to organize it. We were quite quick, but we also had sometimes the situation that we recognized, okay, a 2 hours meeting is not enough because we need to discuss deeper, and then we need to organize a second meeting, and then you see 1 week is simply not enough.
Okay, but when we talk about the participation of a manufacturers association in the future, then I suppose that the collaboration will be similar to the collaboration with the TUBs with their manufacturer in quotation marks, and usually manufacturers are involved during the elaboration of an EAD, so there is not only a commenting period with regard to the drafting of a specific EAD of only 1 week, but this is a development together with the manufacturers then. And I suppose this will be the same in the future if a manufacturers association applies for or initiates the development of an EAD.
And probably one thing that reminds me, it would be good, we have the commenting template, it works quite well. But for the work in associations, it would be good that if there was a meeting and decisions have been taken, agreed or not agreed, or agreed with amendments, like we know it from the SEN world, would be available after the meeting so that those people who could not attend the working group meeting because they are probably not members, because they are members of a committee in the association, they can immediately see what has happened with the comments. If this is included in a revised draft, then it's always difficult to follow where the changes happened.
But I would like
I had to interrupt. I'm really sorry,
okay.
But we still have 10 minutes for Q&A, so it's not finished. So I'm going over there now to start the Q&A. First of all, thank you very much, of course, for the insights. And I know we never have enough time because when we're talking about interesting topics, you know, time goes so quickly, and yet we have a tight schedule. So, okay, all those who are here, please raise your hand when you have a question. And those attending online, you can submit, of course, your question through the digital platform. I saw already a hand raised, sir. Here's the mic.
Yeah, Thomas Holland-Letz from Construction Fixings Europe. I have 2 questions to the colleagues from the ethics. First would be, you mentioned several times the high added, can you hear me? No? Yeah. You mentioned several times the high added value of the ETAs and the good image of the ETAs not only in Europe but also outside Europe, and I can completely confirm this for our products. What do you think in future if you have harmonized standards? Will it be the same or less? So the European and international perception. And the second question is about innovation. How do you want to deal with innovation in future once you are in the standardization scheme?
So first question was, if I understood correctly, what will happen if at some point the EADs are converted into harmonized standards, if it will also have the same acceptance?
Yes, will it have the same acceptance, the same values as the ETAs today?
I would expect that yes. Why? I cannot right moment think a reason why not. Why not? Because the basis is the content and the content what I have explained. So if when you have an harmonized standard and you build your ETA based on an harmonized standard, it will be the same, even I would say. And second question, sorry, was on the. I'm not sure I understand.
Yes, today you can manage innovation, new innovative products via a new EID version. But in future, then you are in the standardization scheme, which is not so flexible. How do you want then to deal with innovation in future?
Probably is right, but as I said, we in the sector that I'm working, and specifically in this intumescent coatings, we're not really seeing innovation. We're launching new products, but they are not until now really innovative. So I don't know what will happen in the future for that.
Well,
any other questions or something to add? Of course, you can add always something. Yes, Mr. Pascal.
From the ethics perspective, I do not think that the value of the CE marking will change for ethics.
I did not understand the question this way. I understood your question with regard to the acceptance of ETAs abroad in third countries outside the European Union, correct?
Yeah, but within the European Union, I do not expect a change because, well, since 2013 at the latest, we are used to the CPR, so this is established. Outside Europe, I would say I know that in other external markets, they have other standards, US standards or Chinese standards or whatever. So I don't know. I would imagine that the added value of an ETA there is relative for ethics manufacturers. I think what we should all together do in Europe to promote the value of CE marking as such and to promote the value independently, whether it has taken the EOTA route or the SEN route, because my impression is that there are other big countries outside the EU which promote through their national standards their products in international markets. And there I think the European Union has something to do to promote the CE marking and the value of harmonized technical specifications in general.
Yes, please, Mr. Breedveld.
Yeah, thank you. I have a kind of question or in addition to the discussion about EPDs and sustainability. We were talking about several databases in countries, product databases, and also about assessment methods. But there is, I think, another topic, that is that there are several background data sets in Europe. There are about 12 background databases, like Gabi and EcoInvent. They are used by manufacturers, but there's not an obligation to choose one. And we see that this will result in 2 times or 3 times different results, for example, in global warming potential. And as you already mentioned, we have to make calculations on a building level under EPPD4. That will be very difficult when those results are so different due to background data sets. The Commission is aware of it, they are working on it, but I want to mention it, that it's not only about different product databases, but it's also about different background data sets.
I have a question that came in here from an online audience, so I'll leave it up to you who wants to answer that one. So who will do the transformation of all existing EADs according to the requirements of the new CPR, EOTA question mark, TAPS question mark, or both question mark? There's only a gap of only 5 years to do this transformation.
Sorry, it was about the transfer of the...
Yes, so who will do the transformation of all existing EADs?
Yeah, okay, so...
according to the requirements.
Yeah. I think this will be a comparably huge task. We have, as it has been said today, far more than 400 cited EADs. Of course, we do not expect that all of them will have to be transferred into the new framework. There might be EADs which will be superseded by harmonized standards, for instance. But nevertheless, the task will be a challenge. On the one hand, of course, we are ready, as it has been explained several times before, with regard to digitalization, sustainability, to implement those aspects into the EADs. On the other hand, I'm a little bit afraid about the fact that we were not able to fix with the Commission services a specific time schedule for this kind of transfer. We have been told that we depend completely on applications of manufacturers which would initiate such kind of transfer of a specific EAD. And I'm a little bit afraid about the possibility that once the 5 years have gone, that within the last month a lot of manufacturers approach EOTA in order to have their EAD being transferred into the new framework, which will simply not be possible for EOTA and for the TAPS. So we need some kind of structured process, and this is for the time being under discussion how to do this.
Okay, thank you very much. Somebody wants to add something on that topic? Are there other questions? Yes, sir. Can somebody? Yes.
So my name is Shabaz Abbas. I'm representing company Hilti. I have a question regarding the process of EAD revisions under the new CPR. So take an example of an EAD which was initially developed by one manufacturer together with ATAP, and based on that now you have multiple manufacturers who own ETAs. So going forward in the new CPR, if the new EAD revision application has been submitted by the same initial manufacturer, is this the obligation of the TAP and EOTA to make the other manufacturers aware so that the EAD revision will be developed together? How this works, because it might be that the one manufacturer is interested into bringing new set of rules. How do you see that?
I think your question is very much related to the confidentiality issue. For the time being, we are requested to keep, even the fact that a procedure is ongoing, to keep such information confidential. In the future, it will be different. The CPR 2024 requests us to be more transparent in that respect. But I have to confess that for the time being, I do, of course, not have any experience. and I do also not have detailed information in which case we should inform other manufacturers who might be interested or who are really interested, who have shown interest. This is something I think which will have to be discussed then also in the next future with the Commission services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I need to wrap up the Q&A moment, so I would really like to express a lot of thanks to you, experts, speakers. So thank you very much. You should be, right? All good things come to an end, and also this conference is coming to its end. And that's why I would like to invite Mr. Thomas Bruun again to the stage, President of EOTA, to share some final thoughts and reflections. Please give him a warm applause.
Thank you very much. I will try not to keep you too long. It was not my intention to come here and speak for long, but I think I just wanted to give you a few of my impressions. After a day like this, I feel really proud to be the president of this organization. I'm proud of the fact that the day shows that we have such a good collaboration with all our main stakeholders, with the industry, with the associations, with the Commission, and a lot of other representatives. If I forgot to mention them, I'm sure that they are not forgotten at all. The term collaboration has been mentioned a number of times throughout the day, and I think this is also key. I really appreciated the presentation from the European Commission, the positive framework that it was set in, and the really positive way that we will go forward. It was mentioned that the quality group, the quality project team that we've set up in EOTA has really contributed to the number of EADs that we've been able to have cited. This group will continue, and there's much gratitude among all of the EOTA members for the work done in this group in order to process these EADs. I'm proud to see that the Commission is seeing EOTA playing an important role in in the future, and also in contributing to the sustainable housing policies that we will see on the 16th of December. It's also a pleasure to see that the Commission sees a lot of opportunities and possibilities in the UEC, in the new CPR, and they like to pursue these with EOTA. That's very, very reassuring for the future. I'm also proud to see that as a small organization in EOTA, we also need to look to ourselves when we talk about digitalization, for example. We need to look to our own processes to make what we do more optimized and more digital. And it's fantastic to see that we, among the members of EOTA, have people with such high skill levels that we've seen in the last couple of presentations that are willing to support EOTA in providing people with these skills to support the organization, with TB chairmanships, with experts in digitalization and in sustainability. I'm sure that we will be well dressed to go forward. It was mentioned that collaboration is key. Now I've said it twice. I think it's starting to play a role. It is important for EOTA to collaborate. Everything that we do are generated by requests of the manufacturers. Therefore, it's extremely important that EOTA and what we do keeps its value to the members, to the manufacturers. We need to ensure that we always provide a service which has valuable to the manufacturers. We need to avoid the fragmentation, and we need to make sure that we are playing on a level playing field. Especially, for example, when it comes to the collaboration with TC 350, this is something that the Commission and we self are very much focused on. I fully agree with my colleague Eric that it would be a terrible situation if we end up with two different concepts if you have an EAD and an ETA, or you are CE marking on the basis of a harmonized standard. That would not work. It's not going to be a race to see who comes first, but it's not unlikely that an EAD will be the first document where we will see the sustainability issues come into life. It's not unlikely, and therefore it is important that EOTA in this process collaborates with CEN CC 350 so that we will not come up with a situation that something that EOTA does is not reflected further on in CEN. So I think this is a key. We have ethics as a success story. That's what I heard from you. Sorry, no. It is truly a success story. It's a complicated kit. It's gone through a tremendous amount of development, and a lot of effort has gone into developing the guideline and then since on the EAD, and we see the number of ETAs that's been issued, so it is a success both inside and outside of EU. And I just wanted to end up by saying that it's clear that we are still facing some challenges. There's still some open questions. How are we going to organize the work when we are amending an EAD where there are multiple manufacturers that have ETAs? This is something we need to solve. My own personal opinion is that we've been operating with expert groups in different areas. We've been operating with different ways of making industry involved in the process. I think this is, from a collaborative point of view, also the way to go forward. But we need to respect confidentiality and things like that. So there is a procedural thing there that we need to ensure. But today, I'm a bit wiser than I was in 2022, and I hope you are the same. It's been a really interesting day. I think from a main point of view, from my part, I want to repeat what Maria said. We know how to find solutions in EOTA. We know how to find pragmatic solutions, and we are ready. So thank you very much for spending the time here today. It was a pleasure to see all of you here. It's a pleasure to have all of you online. We've been more than 400 people attending this conference, so it's really been a huge success for us. So I really appreciate everybody attending. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant trip onwards where you're going, and a pleasant evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruun, for these positive and grateful words. And as Mr. Bruun pointed out, there are still challenges, but challenges are positive because they bring opportunities again. So I think this is really good. I would like to thank all the speakers, of course, all the experts, the panelists, and of course you, the participants, here live, but also you back home and following us remotely, because 400, that's a lot. We hope that today sparked some ideas, brought you together, and of course brought you also a step further into bringing the vision to action to the new ETA route. It was a pleasure for me to be your Master of Ceremony, so thank you very much for that. And I wish you a safe journey home, and I wish you a great evening. Thank you very much.